Hi everyone and welcome back to another Borkno game video. Today's video is dedicated to a progression guide for PGR, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. One of the first things is building out every single character that you have, specifically for free-to-play who have 6 characters or less. Alright, this advice right here does not apply to you if you're a whale and you have more than 6 characters. And the reason being is because it has to do with these missions, particularly the weeklies for the Phantom Pain Cage, where it says you need to do first time clearing for 10 Phantom Pain Cage runs, 10 Phantom Pain stages. All right, the reason why we're talking about this is because one of the biggest mistakes that I have dealt with is me running my main team on the easier stages, specifically for the alpha stage, for test elite and night, and then of course for Roland for test elite and night. All right, these 3 stages, they should be completed with your easier teams or the teams that you don't have currently built out. You should save your higher end teams for chaos and hell. That way you can essentially maximize the amount of Phantom Pain Cage runs that you can do. If you're wondering how do you look at your teams, if you jump into main right here, go into battle, go into challenge, go into the trial zone, select this into solo, and then go into solo battle, go into team presets right here, and this is how you can view your overall teams and how you can set them. So for example, if you don't have a particular character, you just add them to a team and then you go from there. Let's go ahead and dismiss this one because we don't technically have 3 teams. We only have 2 teams in the form of Bianca and B Lucia, and this is the way I want us to view it. For free to play specifically, you won't really have this issue as a whale if you have a lot of characters. All right, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you can't tell yet, I essentially did not run this team in particular for my easier stages, and now I cannot complete my weeklies. I'm not sure why folks aren't talking about this. I guess no one else is doing this, but what's happening is you are not going to be getting your black cards for the week unless you have at least 2 teams built out, and in the future you're going to require more than just 2 teams. If you're wondering what I'm talking about, if you jump into challenges right here, you go to Phantom Pain Cage, there's actually another boss that's going to be unlocked later down the road. So you're technically going to require at least 9 characters built out in order to properly complete out your weeklies eventually. And if you're wondering what do I mean by 9 characters, just go ahead, jump back into here, go into dummy training, go into team presets. Technically you just need 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. All right, because you only need 2 constructs in order to participate in the Phantom Pain Cages, and essentially you can run your easier teams on the easier stages for Phantom Pain Cage. That's one way of doing it, and that's one way approaching it. And then you can essentially use your top level teams for tackling one of the harder stages within the Phantom Pain Cage. But that is probably one of the most important things for free to play to do, is build as many characters, because if you're not doing it, you're essentially holding yourself up on resources in order to progress, in order to do more pulls. But let's go ahead and jump into actually building factors. Like for example, is it okay to invest a lot of resources into your 5-star memories? And in my opinion, yes, it definitely is. And for example, any leftover 5-star memories that I eventually built up, or the 4-star memories, I will place on my other characters. So as you can see, this 4-star memory I placed on my B Lucia, and then I also placed my leftover Voltaire gear, Voltaire memory sets on my B Lucia, and any leftover gear that I had from that, then I would place it on my Nanami. So I feel like any 5-star memories that you have that you feel like is viable, you should build them out. So for example, Ike is the premier set for elemental characters, and you can run pretty much Airwind on any team because everyone's going to be doing basic damage. You can sort of min-max it in some ways for Kamui in case you want to be more elemental oriented, but it's up to you. And then you should run maybe your Samanthas and stuff, and Richelieu's for B-Liv because B-Liv is good at healing. And then you should probably run the Voltaire set for any physical related character. You can run it for B Lucia if you want as well. Voltaire is really good like I'm doing here, and then you could also run Voltaire here, or you can run Ivy. Ivy is a good, but just don't be afraid to invest in these memories. Overclock them as far as you need to go, because essentially in order to build a 6-star memory set, you're going to need to be at level 45 in order to unlock AE4. This stage in particular is eventually, once you do 8 clearings for this, you're guaranteed a 6-star memory. Just note that this 6-star memory is completely random. Now, one thing to note before you farm AE4 like a madman is you need to look at this post by Fury Production. Now, the serum pause expires at 14 days. Better don't claim until the next maintenance, because the expiry date will accumulate accumulate anyway, so hold it. All right, hold it until the next maintenance and then claim it, and that way you can essentially save your serums until V 1.8 for Frozen Darkness, which was scheduled to release 3 weeks after release. So the reason why that's so important is essentially you want to save your serums, that way you can get guaranteed 6 stars versus random drops from AE4. There's an event shop that you can buy any memory that you want. That's why he's mostly advising this. All right, but at the end of the day, if you want to push content right now, then you should be sort of farming like these stages. That way you can build out your characters. There's no real right or wrong way where you spam your stamina, because at the end of the day, in order to progress ranks, in order to push your player count level, in order to push your constructs to the highest degree, you need to be sort of spamming stamina. So it's up to you how you want to progress in the game, whether you want to save yourself for events, which we covered in a previous video, or do you actually want to complete your weeklies. Personally, I feel like completing your weeklies and getting your black cards is going to be a #1 priority, because the less black cards that you have, the less opportunities that you can essentially get for pitying like the next event character that might be appearing, because we don't know when alpha is going to be required. And note that you're going to need 15,000 black cards in order to pity a character from one of these research banners. All right, now the next thing is should you be building like these 4-star weapons out? Now the thing is, with 4-star weapons, it's very difficult to farm out the 5-star ones. If you don't know how to farm 5-star gear, jump into events. Whenever co-op is available, you should essentially be farming this out. Do your 21 runs. After the 21 runs, essentially you can't get rewards, and then you pretty much just wait from there. Just note that they did add a daily for this, so if you jump into dailies, there is going to be a thing where it's like, hey, you know, you can do a co-op mission and complete a daily. I already completed it. It's a new daily that they randomly added and they didn't really talk about, but it's just something to look into in case you want to like space out like your co-op missions in order to maximize the amount of like EXP that you get for like your sort of levels and stuff, right? But when it comes down to this, yes, I feel like it's a-okay to invest some stuff 4-star weapons. Particularly, don't go past like, you know, the 2nd or 3rd overclock, in my opinion. That way you can, you know, space yourself out in case you randomly get a 5-star one. Just note that the 5-star weapons are the best weapons for free to play, because the only way to get a 6-star weapon is by essentially going into base right here and then doing some pulls on the focus research. Just make sure to change the sets. So for example, if this is going to be the weapon particular for B Lucia, so this is the B Lucia weapon right here, basic attack damage, as you can see. And then if you change it again, this is going to be the A Lucia weapon, and when it comes to the A Lucia weapon, it's going to be more elemental based. Just note that if you pick up the B Lucia weapon, there is a different weapon for alpha, so don't try to use like those particular swords. So don't use those gear pieces for, you know, alpha, because everyone, all these characters, all the new characters that we will be getting, they will have like their own weapons. So 5-star weapon, yes, it can go on any live, but 6-star weapons have to go on our particular version of live. And if you're wondering about versions of characters, go into Construct Army, and then it'll show you like the different versions of characters. For this is A live, and then this is S live, and then this is going to be A Lucia, so on and so forth. It's just something to look into in case you want to invest in weapons. I feel like 4-star weapons are okay, but 5-star weapons are essentially just end game for free to play. All right, so don't be afraid to eventually go crazy on like these 5-star upgrades for your weapons, and don't be afraid to sort of upgrade your memories to the max, because essentially you can place it on your other characters. Now, if you're wondering what have I been focusing on in order to progress within like the content, you just spam like a story as far as you can. And if you're stuck here, you're like, oh, I need to hit commandant level like 60 or whatever, then you're just going to be spamming resources. The resource that I'm pretty dry on is mostly cogs and overclock material, and mostly because it takes cogs in order to upgrade your memories, and then of course it takes overclock material in order to actually get these things to higher ranks. So for example, if I go to my Ike right here and I upgrade, and I need to overclock, and I need these overclock material, I've been farming it quite heavily. But let's go ahead and jump into another tip when it comes to progression and acquiring cogs. All right, so one of the things that I want us to avoid doing as much as possible is if you jump into a cog mission and then you just sort of spam and kill the enemy as soon as possible. The cog mission is probably one of the weirdest ones, because it's not about killing the enemy as fast as possible. It's about being able to look at like those little cogs that are going to be floating around. So I'm going to show you what not to do right here. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and use Bianca. We're going to switch into our Kamui right here, and then we're just going to go ahead and hit this dude for everything we have. And you can see there's like a bunch of like cogs sort of like jumping around, and we're just trying to hit this guy, and you're essentially chasing him, and you're just doing everything that you can to deal as much damage to this dude as possible. All right, look at all the cogs that we did not pick up. That is a huge mistake because you actually have to go around and pick those up in order to maximize your score. So let's go ahead and see how much we get right here. It's only 59,000 cogs. So let's go ahead and run this again and show you a proper run on how to actually acquire cogs, because one of the biggest things is making sure you deal damage and you're actually picking up the cogs off the ground. As sad as that sounds, that's like one of the biggest things when it comes to this boss. So if you don't do that, that's just going to be one of the biggest no-nos that you can do. So one of the things is definitely picking up like these yellow ones right here, because those yellow ones are worth the most. And if you can do that, you can essentially, you know, balance it by hitting this dude and actually acquiring the cogs, then you will be good to go. If you don't do that, then it's sort of like an awkward thing. Hopefully we get a little bit more because we focus slightly bit more time. But when it comes to like overall cogs farming, it's just one of the weirdest stages. As you can see here, we got 61,000 over 58,000. I'm pretty sure there's a better way to probably max out the cog stage. I hope it comes up because I made up this video, but farming cogs has to be one of the most annoying things, because when it comes to like all the other stages, for example, you do memory drop, you pick two particular areas and then you beat the boss or you beat the stage, you just kill the enemies. Cogs the only one where you have to like run around and collect the cogs in order to maximize it, and I just find that very odd, like compared to like the design for everything. Cover like a few more things just when it comes to like, let's say you want to get 6-star memories. We already talked about jumping into resources and essentially farming out this stage. Other ways you can do it is go into challenge, go into Warzone, go into the war shop right here, and then essentially you can buy stuff out. Note that there's a refresh right here. So once you get 500 of the Warzone points, you can essentially select one particular, you know, 6-star memory and guarantee that drop for yourself in case you need it. This is probably one of the best ways to acquire 6-star memory. In case you're like, oh, I need Heisen slot 6 in particular, then you should wait for it to essentially refresh in the Warzone shop, because you just can't acquire it via resources and, you know, doing like the combat supply over and over again, it just won't drop. Or as a very, very, very last resort, you should jump into Cogs Factory and then try to pick out the slotted character that you need. But personally speaking, I don't advise jumping into the Cogs area and buying a 6-star memory unless it is a very last resort. Yeah, that is going to be the tips for this video. Hopefully you got something out of this, and the biggest thing is just, you know, the cogs and making sure that you build out more characters as free to plays, because if you don't build out more characters, you're essentially missing out on free black cards because you're not maxing out the Phantom Pain stage completions. All right, that's just a big thing for me because I was neglecting a lot of my characters, and now I'm going to be missing black cards in the future because I thought B. Lucia was unnecessary and I didn't need a builder. Lo and behold, she's definitely one of the characters I definitely need, because I'm going to be needing her to maximize my progression in particular in order to do more summons, because in order to biddy something, it takes 15,000 black cards. But anyways, if you made it this far in today's video, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 27,500 subs, we're doing a giveaway. When it comes to the Apollo giveaway, all of those have essentially been claimed. When it comes to the 25,000 giveaway, we will be announcing that later on Friday. And then when it comes down to this, don't forget to complete your novice missions, and don't forget to complete your dailies and your story missions. I think that's sort of a given. That's why I didn't really talk about it. But yeah, that's going to be progression. Thanks so much for watching, and have yourself a fantastic day. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.